Hello and thank you for joining us. Another year has passed in one of Washington's most enduring unsolved cases, the kidnapping and killing of 10-year-old Lindsey Baum. Lindsay disappeared on June 26, 2009, while walking home from a friend's house in the small town of McClary. Years later, her remains were found halfway across the state near Ellensburg. But her killer remains unknown and her family is still waiting for justice. Let's go back to 2009 now and look at how this case unfolded and the major developments that brought us to today. June 26, 2009, around 9:15 p.m., Lindsey Baum leaves a friend's house on Maple Street in McClary after being told by her mother that she cannot spend the night. A neighbor spots her walking on Maple Street between 5th and 6th, headed toward her home on East Mommsen Street. 10 p.m., Lindsay's mom calls the house of Lindsay's friend, who tells her that Lindsay left an hour ago to start the 10-minute walk home. 10:45 p.m., Lindsay's mother calls police to report her daughter missing. July 7, 2009, Lindsay's 11th birthday comes and goes with no sign of her. November 23, 2009, Lindsay's photo is featured on the cover of People magazine alongside photos of several other missing people. 2013, an age-progressed photo of Lindsay is released. And in September of 2017, hunters locate partial human remains near Manastash Road, 20 miles west of Ellensburg in rural Kittitas County. May 10th of 2018, Grays Harbor County Sheriff Rick Scott announces at a press conference that the Kittitas County bones belong to Lindsey Baum. Quote, "We've brought Lindsay home," Scott says. March 2023, the Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office and other agencies, including the FBI and investigators from the Attorney General's office, search a 10-acre property in Mason County related to Lindsay's case. Several possible pieces of evidence were then collected. King 5 has been covering this case since the beginning. Just days after Lindsay's disappearance, searchers were already growing frustrated by the lack of leads. Let's take a look back at this King 5 story from 2009.
Come, this way, this way.
Search dogs are still sniffing all around McClary for any sign of Lindsey Baum. But after almost 5 days of unsuccessful searches, police say more than ever they need the public's help. While police maintain Lindsay may have run away, for the first time, police now say it is more likely she was kidnapped. Police say odds are someone unknowingly knows the person who's responsible and has noticed a recent change in behavior.
Change in appearance, wanting to get rid of the family car for no explainable reason, perhaps deciding without any discussion to suddenly leave the area for a period of time.
Along with asking the public's help, Grays Harbor investigators have called in experts from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This retired sheriff from Wyoming says it is unlikely Lindsay was kidnapped by a stranger. Up until today, most of the searches occurred in the neighborhood where Lindsay was last seen, walking home from a friend's house Friday night. That's because most abducted children are found within a quarter mile of where they vanished. But experts worry time is working against them.
Statistically, when a child is abducted, they're murdered within the first 24 hours.
I know in my heart she's alive.
When Lindsay's mother spoke with King 5 last night, she said she voluntarily took a polygraph test to assure police and people in town that she had nothing to do with her daughter's disappearance.
I want everybody to know that my daughter's missing and I have no idea where she's at and I need her home.
When we come back, 4 years after Lindsay disappears, investigators release an age-progressed photo, hoping to bring renewed interest in the case. Welcome back. 4 years after her daughter disappeared, Lindsey Baum's mother remained vigilant, refusing to give up hope. Here's King 5's Drew Mickelson reporting from 2013.
For me, time stopped that day.
Time doesn't stop for 10-year-old girls.
It kind of took my breath away.
This is what Lindsey Baum looked like in 2009.
It's 4 years. You know, she's not a 10-year-old little girl anymore.
Here's what police say she might look like today.
Just a big reality check of how much time has gone by and how much changing that she's done and how much she's missed.
June 26th, 2009. Then 10-year-old Lindsay left a friend's house, headed for home in McClary, but she never made it.
Missing children investigations are never shelved.
The sheriff of Grays Harbor County says the Baum case haunts him. He hopes an age-progressed photo could help solve the now 4-year-old mystery.
We know there's information out there that would be beneficial to us. We're hoping that this photograph will generate interest in the case, and maybe people will come forward that may have been reluctant to do so in the past.
She very well could look like this. Then again, she may look nothing like this. But the whole point is, she doesn't look like she did 4 years ago.
Melissa Baum is confident Lindsay is alive. It's a hope that can't be dashed, no matter how much time passes.
There's no moving on for people in my position. We can't go anywhere. We need our kids back.
Drew Mickelson,
I will never give up on Lindsay.
King 5 News.
It wouldn't be until nearly a decade after 10-year-old Lindsey Baum was kidnapped from her McCleary neighborhood that her family would learn what happened to the girl. Their worst fears confirmed.
Well, shortly after Lindsay disappeared, loved ones planted a tree in her memory here at a park in downtown McCleary. And then last year, after her remains were positively identified, friends and family started a fundraiser to establish a garden in her name. That garden will be dedicated later tonight, and Lindsay's mother says that's great, but she says her daughter deserves something else: justice.
I really didn't want it to be a memorial. That's why I've called it the Remembrance Garden.
It has a plaque with her picture and a bench in the shape of a butterfly. Lindsay loved butterflies.
I want her laughter to be heard here. I want her spirit to be felt here. She played here every day.
For a mother, time does not heal old wounds.
This wasn't God's plan. This wasn't God's doing. This was an evil human being that saw my child and for whatever reason thought they had a right to take her.
Melissa Baum's daughter, Lindsay, disappeared on June 26, 2009, just shy of her 11th birthday. The FBI and hundreds of volunteers joined the search, but as investigators followed up on leads,
Missing child.
no suspects were ever named,
Thanks a lot.
and no one was ever arrested. Then in the fall of 2017, hunters found remains near Ellensburg that in 2018 were identified as Lindsay's. That break prompted more tips, but nothing panned out.
So the last point she was seen was right in this area, right around 9:30.
Grays Harbor Sheriff Rick Scott was undersheriff in 2009.
This case has become personal with everyone who has worked on it.
He's frustrated that mysteries remain, like who were this man and boy seen in a McCleary convenience store that night who may have come from this Honda Ridgeline.
I'm still hoping that there's somebody out there who just needs to develop the conscience or the courage to come forward and tell us.
I did this 2 weeks to the day after I found out.
Until she knew Lindsay was gone, Melissa Baum never gave up hope her daughter would be found safe.
It's a different kind of hope now. Now it's more determination, I guess, that they're going to be brought to justice. The bench was just put in night before last.
She wants this garden to help the community remember Lindsay and to remind everyone that her killer is still out there.
They will be looking over their shoulder every day for the rest of their lives until they're caught or dead.
Lindsay would have celebrated her 21st birthday next month. The sheriff says the reward is up over $35,000 and says if you know anything about this case, call your local police department. Live in McCleary, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
In 2023, a new search for evidence brought renewed hope that Lindsay's case could soon be solved.
She loved to write. She wanted to be a writer and an illustrator. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She loved animals. Those were her passions at 10 years old.
Childhood dreams cut short. Lindsey Baum disappeared from McCleary, June 26, 2009, just shy of her 11th birthday.
She'd be turning 25 July 7th. That's a long time for no answers.
Nearly 14 years ago, Lindsay was walking home from a friend's house a little before 10 p.m.
The furthest we have her is about 3/4 of the way down Maple Street, and she vanished.
Rose Winquist, a private investigator, has been working on the case for 8 years, upping her involvement after Lindsay's partial remains were found in 2017 in Ellensburg, 300 miles from McCleary.
This case is very much active. Very much active. In fact, it's the most active it's ever been. And everyone is so happy about that.
3 weeks ago, the Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office plus several agencies and volunteers searched a 10-acre piece of land in Mason County, circling back to a tip it received shortly after Lindsay disappeared. Up to 25 items were recovered and are being looked at as possible evidence.
We're going to see some really significant changes in the next year. We're going to have some real solid information come out, I think.
Is there a heightened sense of hope right now?
Oh, very much. Very much so. This case is very solvable.
A newly elected sheriff and multi-agency task force credited for reinvigorating Lindsay's case and goal of finding her killer.
So for the first time in a long time, I have hope. That helps because I'd lost it for a long time. And the truth is gonna come out. I'm never giving up. I'm never ever going to just stop.
When we come back, we will hear from the current Grays Harbor County Sheriff about where the investigation stands. And welcome back. We recently spoke with the Grays Harbor County Sheriff about where the investigation stands in 2026 and whether he thinks the case will ever be solved.
Yeah, so I was with the sheriff's office, and I was a North Beach resident deputy at the time. So I did, in the initial call, I did not have anything to do with the investigation during that time period. My area was up north, and this was East County, so I had nothing to do with it in the beginning. Yeah, I think everybody got kind of connected to it. Hearing the investigators talk about the case when you're in the squad room and stuff like that, we had a huge response to this initial. Initially thought that she was missing, just a missing person. And then turned into criminal later. I think we had over 100 investigators from, our county, State Patrol, Lacey, Olympia, you name it, they came in to help. FBI was a huge help. So we did had that team of investigators for probably a month and a half, just investigating every car that went by, door-to-door knocking, searching people's houses with permission. To try and find Lindsay, and then kind of cooled off over the years, and I became intimately involved when I was a detective since 2012. But 2017, actually 2016, some hunters found a skull over in eastern Washington in Kittitas County, and that's when we became involved because they initially thought it was one of their missing children in Kittitas County. They sent it to the FBI lab. And the DNA came back to Lindsey Baum. That's how we got re-involved in the case, knowing now that she was actually kidnapped and killed, other than our county. And we took that case again and started running with it again. Yeah, we still get a bunch of tips. Some tips are things we disproved a long time ago, like Lindsay being hit by a car and taken somewhere else. We disproved that a while ago, or maybe late 2009, early 2010. Someone made up that rumor to try and get somebody else in trouble. So those tips still come in, which is kind of frustrating, but we still get good tips. The FBI arrested somebody last year, maybe a year before, and Lindsay was on one of his computers. He was arrested. He was actually doing crimes up in northern Washington State, and then he fled to Europe and was arrested in Europe. And so they're kind of still sifting through all his computers and stuff to see if there's any ties to him at all. We've had some evidence go back to state lab just to see if we can find anything from the evidence. We've also been working with Microsoft as far as using AI to help solve these cold case type cases, and using AI to help manage, the timeline the case management. And so those are some things. We also, something out of the ordinary, we were working with a private investigator firm with Rose Winquist. We had them sign NDAs to help us out, and they've been awesome in helping come up with a really good timeline of, like each step where we think Lindsay was at, they came up with that timeline. Because we're a small agency, we don't have time to do those types of things. So they've been a huge help in our investigation. We've also employed or used resources from the FBI, and then Washington State Attorney General's office has also been helping out. So,
Great.
It's still active. We have a couple suspects in mind that we're looking at, but nothing concrete. Who's next on the list? If we rule somebody out, we come up, who's next on the list, and we'll start digging into that person. We have a few of those people that we want to dig into. It's just painstakingly takes time, on top of our other duties that we currently have now. So it's frustrating, but we're still, trying to find that certain nugget to solve this case.
Yeah. Is DNA a big factor in this case? Is there any DNA or new advances in DNA technology at play here at all?
It's an active case, so I really don't want to get into, specifically talking about the evidence, but possibly.
Okay. In 2023, we did a story with you, and you were doing a search out in Mason County on a property there. Did anything come from that search that played an active role in helping lead this investigation forward?
Yeah, nothing resolved from that case or that search warrant. Just following a lead, trying to make sure that, if it was tied to the case or not, and, come to find out we did the search warrant, it was not.
Gotcha. How's Lindsay's mom doing these days? Is she still in McCleary?
She moved to Aberdeen now, so she lives in Aberdeen. We're in communication with her monthly, if not more. She still has an active role as far as, being able to talk to us and see what's going on. But she's very active in the case, and she's a ball of fire. She keeps our nose to the grind, so she's not going to let it die, which we appreciate.
Yeah. You mentioned it a little bit at the top, but I'd like to circle back. Just what does this case mean to you and to a small town like McCleary and a small county like Grays Harbor?
Yeah, especially if you have kids, a small community like this, kids, it touches everybody's heart. And when you get involved and you see things that cops see on a daily basis, you just, I worry about how much she suffered during the time of being kidnapped and killed. And I think of my kid, and I worry, about my kid's safety and stuff like that. So it's something you're always thinking of. I wake up in the middle of the night to this day, every once in a while with ideas on what to look at. So, I'll email myself by my phone and go back to sleep. But every investigator that's been on this case, this case has that same story. They're always thinking about it. Something always pops in their mind, middle of the night. So we're always thinking about it, and we definitely want to get it solved.
Never leaves your mind, it sounds like.
Right. Yep.
Right. And you said you want to get it solved. So you think this is very much a solvable case then?
I do think it's going to be solved. It might not be evidence-based. I think the solve is going to be from someone knowing what something happened. My fear is someone right now, the person's still alive, and they don't want to rat their dad out, their son, or whatever the family dynamic is. As soon as the suspect passes away, I think we might, just FYI, my dad did this, or my whatever did this. I just didn't want to say anything while he's alive, but this is what happened. Here's the stuff.
What information do you want people who may... I think they're trying to chat with somebody else. I'm going to start this question over. Sure. What information do you want people to come forward with? If they see this, or if they think of Lindsay's case and think they might know something, what information would be helpful to you to hear from the public?
Yeah, I really don't want to put it in a box. If you feel uncomfortable or there's something in there that's kind of nagging at you that, maybe I should have called. I don't want to waste their time. Because we get people that do that, a couple of years later made a call. Hey, I didn't want to waste your time, but this is what I had. If you feel like something's wrong or you have some information, share it. Maybe we already have that information, but if we don't, it could be a huge help to the case. So if you have any instinct at all, like maybe should I call, you should call and give us that information, and we'll put it in our files and see where, the chips fall, and it may help or may not help. But either way, we've got the information, which is huge.
In Washington state, there are roughly 3,000 unsolved murders and missing persons cases just like Lindsey Baum's. King 5's Unsolved Northwest team is dedicated to bringing new light to these cold cases and uncovering new information that might lead to justice for the victims and their families. Here's everything you need to know about Unsolved Northwest.
Reporting for King News Service.
From the truest mysteries of our time.
And so the second day after it occurred, this still remains the most mysterious skyjacking in the Northwest.
D.B. Cooper, who hijacked a 727 jet plane out of Portland, Oregon on Thanksgiving Eve, 1971.
To the notorious crimes of the Northwest.
But something was new, the name Ted.
They premeditated design or intent to effect the death of said Lisa Levy.
My chance to talk to the press.
Contrary
and the cases that have gone cold.
3 men burst into the business. Their motive was robbery, but it soon turned into murder.
Unsolved Northwest is digging through the King 5 archives to help uncover the truth.
The name of the robbery suspect has not been released.
And up to now, we hadn't heard about any arrests.
No. Many unsolved cases are solvable. Maybe you know the very tip that could help crack the case.
I'm Madison Wade.
I'm Steve Solis.
And I'm Sebastian Robertson.
This is Unsolved Northwest. We're a team of journalists dedicating time to help put a spotlight on the cases that are unsolved in the Pacific Northwest.
Thousands of cases.
We're talking crimes that date back decades.
We're talking murder cases, missing persons cases.
And the hope is that a lot of times that light that we shed on those cases can actually uncover secrets that have been hiding for, at times, decades.
When multiple groups started to track unsolved cases, they started to look at 1965 to 2019.
There are nearly 3,000 unsolved homicides here in Western Washington.
There are 28% of homicides that are unsolved.
28%.
And that's a problem because that means there are a lot of families who still don't have closure.
Ryan Backman founded Project Cold Case.
And they essentially dive deep into the data surrounding these cases all over the country.
The national clearance rate is somewhere in the low 60%. So you think about that, that's almost 40 out of every 100 murders in the United States that go unsolved.
That's a lot of people who got away with murder.
It's a whole lot of people that got away with murder. I think most people don't realize how many cases do go unsolved. It's just a scary thought when you think of all those people out there that have not been held accountable for their actions.
Thousands of victims don't have justice. Thousands of family members are left waiting for answers.
That's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's whatever makes you comfortable.
Yeah.
We'll do the absolute best we can.
Nothing's live. And then James, can you introduce yourself as it pertains to the stories?
I am James, and I am Autumn's father.
James, tell us about Autumn.
Loss is one part of it. Family members are every day praying that there will be a phone call with some sort of answer that could bring some sort of closure.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with covering these cases.
That's a really delicate situation to be in.
Earning a family's trust is the biggest part of this for me.
You quickly find out that this case never left their mind, never left their heart.
We're going to be making sure that these victims are remembered and their story is told.
And that's the power of what we do day in, day out.
After the name Ted was printed and broadcast, there were no more disappearances here.
If the skyjacker was lucky enough to survive that jump, reporting for King News Service.
In Tacoma, I'm Joyce Taylor.
This
is Unsolved Northwest.
If you have any information about Lindsey Baum's case, you should contact the FBI. That number, 206-622-0460. A reward of up to $40,000 is being offered for information that helps find Lindsay's killer. We want to thank you for watching.